Welcome to All Wheel Driven, a podcast by Audi Club North America, where we explore all things Audi and the incredible people who bring it to life. All Wheel Driven is presented by XPEL, the official paint protection film of Audi Club. Welcome back to another episode of the All Wheel Driven podcast. I am your host, Joe Kucinski. Today we're going to be talking about winter driving, which is where the Quattro has really earned its reputation and where our podcast name comes from. So, here we are in kind of the throes of winter across the country. So it's perfect timing to talk about some winter driving. Even with Quattro, the best drivetrain in the world can't replace skill and awareness and the proper technique. So joining us today to talk about Quattro, talk about winter driving, we have a special guest. It is Dave Klock. Dave is the Northeast Quattro Winter Driving Committee Chair and Event Master. Dave, thank you so much for joining me today. Looking forward to talking to you about some winter driving and Quattro.
Thanks, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So, Dave, can we get started maybe just with a quick intro about yourself, your affiliation with the club and, what you drive?
Yeah. Been with the club since probably 1999, 2000, somewhere in there. I was on the board for about 11 years, and I'm an instructor, and my real passion, though, is the winter program. I've been doing that since 2009.
Wow, that's great. That's great. And what drives that passion for the winter program? What makes that stand out to you compared to, say, regular, driving events and so forth?
I think maybe growing up in the Northeast and learning to drive all-wheel or rear-wheel drive cars in the snow, and it's just a hoot.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, we all remember that. That first snow, and as we were growing up and getting our driver's license, right, and going out to an empty parking lot and having a bit of fun, right. So it's tough to beat that. Tough to beat.
I still do that.
Good for you. So we are, as we record this, we are in the middle of what we'll call Quattro season. It's been a tough winter for a lot of the country, even parts of the country that don't normally see cold temperatures have gotten them this year. So it's fitting for a lot of folks to have this discussion. So Dave, tell us a little bit about what Quattro season means. Some of maybe the what that is really. What the all-wheel drive. What some of the facts and myths are around that.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Quattro seasons all the time, but in the winter, that's where Quattro really shines. But you have to couple that with the correct tires, and in my view, those are dedicated snow tires. Yeah, the Quattro will get you moving and keep you moving, but it won't stop you. You need the tires to do that. And just that sure-footedness on the road is critical with the tires and the Quattro. One thing I've learned early on when I got my first Audi 90 and put snow tires on it. Growing up in the snow belt, I learned to drive. I go out till I found the limit and kind of back off. Right, that limit is much farther out with the Quattro. So you have to be aware of that too.
So speaking of that and getting to know those limits and so forth, right? You have the car control clinics, right? That are specific set up for winter driving, right? I mean, everybody has heard of, your regular track days, or you go to, tracks around the country and, bring your car and get to learn how to drive it at speed. But what you do is kind of the same thing, but the speeds are slower. But the fun might be ramped up a little bit higher because you're doing it, in the snow. Can you talk to us a little bit, about that, the winter clinics that you have at Lime Rock Park and so forth?
Well, I can give you a little background on the whole winter program. In 98, 99 time frame, when NEQ included the entire Northeast, including New Hampshire. We started going to Tim O'Neill's rally schools venue in Littleton, New Hampshire, and we would rent the facility and do our events there, which is great. It's a really nice venue. A few years later, the creation of the North Atlantic chapter, we sort of lost custody of that site. So we looked around for another place to do winter events, and longtime member Art Mayhew, who ice raced with a group known as AMEC, Adirondack Motor Enthusiast Club, and they ice raced on small lakes in the Adirondacks. We started doing that in about 2009, and it was a great relationship for both clubs. Many NEQ instructors and students went to race with AMEC, and for a while we dominated the street legal class. That was really cool. A lot of fun. In fact, I might go ice racing this weekend with them. They've got some good ice this year. So, but due to climate change, it became harder and harder to schedule events and maintain events and find good ice and all that. So 2019 was our last year of doing the winter program with AMEC, and we were looking for a new venue, and people were talking about the renovation of the autocross track at Lime Rock. So we tried that, and that's worked out to be pretty good. They have a 300-foot diameter skid pad, which is terrific.
So how many events do you have? Are all your events held at LRP, and how many per year do you typically have?
We try to do 2 a year. We have our second one coming up February 28th. We've got room left.
Oh, okay. I would love to. I would love to get up there for that. That sounds like just a total blast. Sounds like a blast.
Our last 3 events have been on snow. One nice thing about Lime Rock is we can have an event even in the pavement. We don't have to wait for the lake to freeze.
Right, for sure. How's the clinic? How's it structured? What does the day look like, Dave, when you show up to one of these? If I trek up there on the 28th of February, what can I expect?
It's pretty much the typical car control exercises. Actually, we start with telling you how to get in the car in the wintertime. And what you do is you put your back to the door, sit down in a seat as you would a normal chair, pick up your feet and click your heels together to knock the snow off. So when you get in the car, you don't have snow between your feet and the pedals.
For sure.
And you don't slip and fall either as you're getting in the car. We have a brief classroom session. We talk about the basics, tire contact pads, weight transfer, what the gas pedal and the brakes do, and going around the corner, how they move the car around. And then after that, we go out to the skid pad with the beginning students, the most novice of the group. And the skid pad is a tremendous teaching tool as far as car control and weight transfer. And we set it up in 3 areas: with a skid pad, a slalom, which includes a little accident avoidance maneuver at the end of the slalom, and then a mini road course. So we have the traditional 3 groups, and then we rotate around until everybody gets a chance in each area. We take a little break, and then in the end, we come out and then we drive the autocross course, and that at some point sort of turns into an open track event. It works out very well. That's where you get to practice what you've learned in the morning and just have some fun for some time.
That's fantastic. And do they have an instructor in the car with them, or is it just classroom and then instructors standing by? How does that work?
We have an instructor pool. We don't assign instructors like you would at a typical HPDE. The instructors hop in and out of cars. So, and we make sure that the first timers have an instructor for most of the day or as long as they need it. And the same thing with more advanced students, they could go on their own and ask for an instructor if they want one. And then the intermediates, it's a mix of sometimes they can go on their own or have people in the car. We also encourage riding with the instructor so they can get a feel for what the car can do in low friction conditions.
Sure, sure. And what are the car requirements? Does it need to be an Audi? Does it need to have all-wheel drive? What tires do you need to wear? What are those types of requirements for the course?
Well, the car is whatever car you have, okay, including SUVs and even an occasional pickup truck. Yeah, because we want you to learn to drive what you drive on the street better in the snow and slippery conditions. Tires, we'd like to have snow tires, but we do allow all seasons because we know that many people don't, especially in the downstate areas of New York, and don't buy and install snow tires seasonally. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we talked about tires, a little bit. You alluded to them earlier and their importance. Dive into that just a little bit more. Your expertise and experience with various tires in those conditions, and are all seasons, are they good enough, or are dedicated snows really that much better when it comes to winter driving? Not even on snow and ice, but even just freezing cold temps if it's 20 degrees outside.
Well, I've been a long time proponent of dedicated snow tires, especially in the Northeast, but the all seasons and in particular the all weather tires that some of the manufacturers have now are pretty good, pretty good. Uh, but if you're going to be driving in snow routinely, definitely snow tires. Yeah, never summer tires. I had an experience when I did it to myself. I went out to run some errands on my summer tires. It was raining. The temperature dropped rapidly. The rain froze. I had a heck of a time getting home, and I used every bit of my winter driving skills to keep that car on the road. The all-wheel drive got me moving, but it did not want to stop.
So if you have a dedicated set of winters, like when do you suggest folks do the swap from summer to winter? Is it just when the first kind of frost hits, or do you have a kind of a rule that you follow for telling folks, hey, this is when you should probably switch over?
I actually put mine on around Thanksgiving. You know, we kind of gauge how the weather is and what kind of temperatures you have. And climate change certainly throws a ringer into that. You have to judge a little bit. But
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the snow tires, obviously they're tremendous in the colder, snowier conditions. What are they like in the dry? I think they've gotten a lot better, at least in my experience in the last few years. That in some cases, unless you're really, really pushing the car harder than you probably should be on the street anyway, it's almost hard to tell sometimes. How
that
if you
is
got winters are,
that's
right?
very true. That's very true. I've noticed that as well. When I first started putting snow tires on my Quattro, all the wheels. When I grew up, it was just the rear wheels. Uh, when it got above 40 degrees, you can squirm. I don't think it's the case anymore. The compounds and the uh, you microscopic whatever they do with the compound. I'm not an expert, but they're pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah, agree. So tires are obviously key. What else do you recommend for winter driving? Do you go with emergency kits and that sort of thing, or what else do you kind of recommend for folks who do have to deal with winter driving conditions?
Well, some of the basics, like make sure you have a good snow brush and a scraper, and clean off all those windows and the roof and everything else. I was driving home in a snowstorm from work one day and sitting at a two-way stop. And this guy was coming along, and I saw his directional on. He was turning, right onto the street where I was sitting. And I went out, and then I could see his face. His eyes got really big. Car wasn't stopping. Then I realized he had his flashers on, but his left directional was covered with snow, but his right one wasn't. So make sure you clean the car off. And if you, I used to take long trips into the Adirondacks in the winter. I would throw a sleeping bag in the back of the car and just a pair of boots or whatever. So occasionally too, but they take care of the roads pretty good these days.
Yeah, no, that's excellent advice for sure. And we talked about clearing the car. We talked about tires. We talked about Quattro a little bit, but and you'd said it'll get you going, and it'll maybe help you corner a little bit, but it's not going to help you stop, right? So, and I think that's an important message to share with everybody, because it's certainly not an Audi thing. More and more manufacturers have all-wheel drive cars, and they they show on the commercials all the time. Their marketing's very heavy on showing them blasting through snow and going through pouring rain like there's not a care in the world, right? And I think that's a little bit misleading to folks who maybe buy one of these cars and don't really understand that it doesn't mean you're invincible. And in fact, most of the times, at least in my experience, when I see a car stranded by the side of the road in a snow ditch or something like that, it's usually an SUV or it's usually something that's all-wheel drive. It's often on the wrong tires. And it's probably driven by, by somebody who kind of bought into the marketing maybe a little bit and didn't realize that, you just can't do everything because of all-wheel drive. So, what are your thoughts on that? What's your experience been as far as, that goes?
Well, oftentimes you hear, I've got all-wheel drive or I have Quattro. I don't need snow tires. And like we've talked about, you do. Yeah. And, usually that relates to what you describe, the SUV in the ditch, or what I see often on the New York State Thruway is the SUV upside down in the median. And that comes from, not reading the conditions. You get going too fast. For example, you're driving along, it's raining, right? And you hear that hiss of the rain, the water hitting the bottom of the car, and that sound. If it goes quiet, what just happened? The surface froze. You may be on a bridge. You may be hit an area where there was no salt, whatever. Well, those are the things you need to be aware of driving in the winter. Put your, especially if you got that, high performance track monster and you're driving it in the winter, put it in comfort, normal, or the softest condition, because you don't need that quick weight transfer that you get from the stiffer suspensions. So, but particularly awareness conditions, slush is probably the most dangerous thing. You want to, be aware of those slush ridges on the highway. In my area, they tend to heavily salt the intersections. And if it's snowing hard, when you pull up to the intersection, all of a sudden you're in oatmeal. You just got this pile of slush. And when those wheels lock up, it doesn't matter what kind of, they float in that slush. It doesn't matter what kind of tires or how many wheels you have driven, you're going to lose it.
Right.
So pay attention. That's the main thing I can recommend.
Great. And is that all covered in the clinics that you offer as well, Dave? Do you talk folks through through those scenarios as well, and give them advice on how to set the car up beyond just tires, but just kind of the different drive modes, when to use this, maybe when it might make sense to turn off traction control or something like that? Do you cover that in these clinics as well?
We do. We try to. Now it takes years to develop that, but at least to make people aware and then talk about it. I always tell the story. I mentioned the SUV upside down in the median. Yeah, and you can see that on a dry, sunny day in the summer. And what happens? I view as somebody a moment of inattention. They drift off to the side of the road. They feel that they're on the gravel or go over that rumble strip. They quickly turn that wheel back fast, and the car reacts. They may go into understeer, slows down, and relax. They turn the wheel more, and the car shoots to the left towards the center of the road. And if it's an SUV, high center of vehicle, they end up rolling it over. So when you find yourself in those situations, if something goes wrong, don't panic, relax, look up, figure out what happened. As we talk about understeer, the first thing you do is straighten the wheel, wait, turn again, slowly, and slow the car down so it stops understeering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's great. That's great. So what is usually the biggest takeaway that students have? What's kind of their biggest aha moment, would you say, when they go to one of these clinics and they actually get to, whip around on the skid pad and through the slalom and so forth? What's usually the one thing that they come back and they say, I never knew this, or never, besides the big smile on their face from having a whole bunch of fun?
That's true. Pretty much, I think the most common quote I hear is, "I never knew my car could do that. But it could do that with my car." Yeah, and it all goes to that skid pad, that first skid pad experience. We try to make it kind of clinical in the beginning because everybody likes to throw the rear end out and slide around the skid pad. Yeah, but we try to make them the students, just set an arc on the skid pad and pick up speed until the car starts to understeer, because it will, and lift off the gas, let the weight come forward, the car will respond. Straighten the wheel. Different techniques to get out of that understeer situation. I'm kind of known as Mr. Understeer at that point of the day.
And then, do you see folks come back to this clinic, time and time again? Do they get it, once and they're like, okay, that's good. What kind of repeat, students do you have usually?
Kind of all of the above. The notable repeat students end up at HPDEs.
Mm-hmm.
They have so much fun, so they want to do more of this, which is a great thing.
Sure.
And and I get the biggest joy or satisfaction I get is when parents bring their new drivers. Yeah, because it's sort of like going through a street survival program on the snow.
Yeah.
So it's really, really.
It's funny you mentioned street survival, because it sounded it sounded like that, from the way you were describing it. I've been a street survival driving coach for 9 or 10 years now, and it's a great program. Love it, and it sounds like this is almost street survival for the snow, which I think is beneficial to everybody, not just obviously street survival is geared more towards younger drivers, but something like this I think is appeals to everybody, right? Everybody gets something out of it.
Definitely. I'm also a street survival instructor, and it's probably one of the most satisfying things I do. I guess next to the winter schools. But sure. It's terrific, and that all control follows kind of the same format. The basic, the slalom, the skid pad, and the lane toss maneuvers and that sort of thing that we do. Yeah, and even the Audi winter driving experience in Seafeld is much more professional and controlled, and, and a lot more social stuff too. But it's it all follows the same basic formats.
Yeah, yeah. And what, Dave? Personally, what do you drive out there in the winter? What's your Audi weapon of choice to take on the elements?
Well, I've had a bunch of Audis. Our main car is a 2015 Q7 right now with snow tires, and my fun car is a Golf R.
Oh,
So
nice,
yeah,
nice. Those are fantastic. And you rip around in the snow in that too?
yep. I've got my own little private place in the local mall that where one of the anchor stores is closed and they don't plow the.
Nice. What other winter driving tips would you have for Audi owners out there? I know we've covered a few. Is there anything we didn't touch on yet that folks should be aware of?
We covered most of them. I think one of the things I always talk about is, you know, when you're driving in the snow, is relax. The
Hmm.
same thing on an HPDE. People
Right.
tend to tighten up their shoulders and grip the steering wheel like it's the main valve at the water treatment plant. You know, but
Right.
fingertips, the small muscles, all that stuff, and use your eyes. Uh, Particularly, in the winter conditions, the road conditions and the surfaces. Pay attention to that. You have to learn to read that.
Right. Right. And can you tell? So you've obviously got a lot of winter driving experience, and a lot of experience with different cars in the winter. How does Quattro kind of measure up? Can you tell the difference between that and, say, BMW X Drive, or some of the other systems that are out there? What's your take on Quattro itself as a system?
It's the best. I I I have a summer place on the Finger Lakes, and the shores of the Finger Lakes are like this. We have a gravel driveway, and any of my Quattros, I can back out my driveway and point it up that hill and start it moving in that crushed stone gravel. It'll never spin wheel, never even attempt to, it seems. I've seen people with four-wheel drive pickup trucks, even Jeeps, you know, before they kick in, they'll need more wheel spin, you know, to activate them. A
Hmm.
lot of the a lot of the all-wheel drive systems are basically front-wheel drive too until they sense the slip and then they engage the rears.
And when you're driving in the snow, I think we touched on this a little bit, but just for folks that are watching, that maybe want to dive a little bit deeper. So you talked about being smooth, and that's something that you hear all the time on track, in non-snowy conditions. Why is that so important? Why is smoothness in your driving so important? Specifically, it's important all the time, but specifically in winter driving.
The friction coefficients are so small, so slight in the wintertime that that you know heavy-handed inputs, large inputs, quick inputs are not effective.
Hmm.
They're just if you turn the steering wheel really fast in the snow and it's really slippery, nothing happens. So
Hmm.
you gotta get that weight on the front by lifting or touching the brake, and then turn in slowly. Turn.
Got it. Got it. So related to that, maybe smoothness is your answer here, but just if you had to name one winter driving habit as the most important, you can only take one lesson away. What would you say that it is? What advice would you give to folks on that?
It's, no matter what you're driving, snow tires, all-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, front, uh, drive to the conditions. Yeah, that might mean even in Quattro, you have to slow down. Yeah.
All right. So, as far as the Northeast Quattro Club is concerned, What else? What else you have going on? You've got, we talked about the Winter Driving Clinic. We've got one coming up on the 28th, and that'll be the last one this year. Obviously, you've got other events. So, what else is coming up on your calendar?
You'd have to look at the website, eqclub.org. But I can, obviously, we have our full HPDE schedule. That starts with, I think Lime Rock's our first one in April, May. And what we're offering this year, and I'll be involved in it, is a taste of the track.
Okay,
And
good.
give students an opportunity to experience the skid pad and the autocross course in the morning before going out on the full road course in the afternoon.
Oh, nice. And
So
with an instructor, same deal in their own car and everything. Yep.
Right. Yeah, in their own car. And we're developing it now, but they will be with an assigned instructor. They're an assigned instructor for the day or the weekend.
Perfect. And like the winter driving program, there's no car. I mean, obviously the car's got to be it's safe and it'll get inspected and all that good stuff. But it doesn't have to be an Audi, right? It can be
correct
whatever brand you happen to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then as far as the club goes as well, like what is there opportunities for folks to volunteer? How do folks get involved that maybe want to help out in any of the programs?
Well, you join ACNA and become a chapter member in this area, and we always looking for volunteers to help out at events. We have quite a long list of social events too that you can see on the website.
Oh, okay.
We just did a ski day at Stratton Mountain, I think. I'm not sure.
Nice. So you don't need excuse me, don't need an Audi to participate in those events. From the driving events and the social stuff. So it is inclusive to folks, and then I'm sure once they get in there, they'll probably want to buy an Audi, right? They want to be like everybody else. That's great. Dave, is there anything else that you want to speak to as far as winter driving or the Quattro Club, Northeast Quattro Club? Anything? Any shout outs to anybody? Anything you want to cover there?
I get to relate a story actually that one of the instructors told me he heard from his student from the last event. Was he? I think it was the very next day or a couple days after he got home from his event that we did in January. He found himself in an understeer situation and was, staring at the tree line that he was going to hit. And when he remembered what he had learned, he took his foot off straightened the wheel, took his foot off the gas, was patient, waited for the car to slow down, and he made that turn. He got the car back under control.
Yeah, and that's the great thing with these programs, right? That's training that you can take with you for the rest of your life, and in any car you ever drive, right? A lot of folks you hear folks talking, especially when you're talking about the performance cars. As soon as they get it, they want to add more power. They want to make it faster. It needs a tune, it needs a supercharger, it needs this, it needs that. And they don't necessarily spend the time or the money, with the driver mods, right? Making sure that they can be faster and safer and so forth. And I think that's what really sets these programs apart, and what a lot of folks don't realize, because we all think we're born great drivers, right? I mean, we all we're all just one step away from Formula One. But obviously that's not the case, and you realize that quickly when you first start coming out to these events. How different it is to drive on the track compared to driving in traffic, and how much you really have to learn about the art of driving when you're at some of these events, right?
Absolutely. We always say that you have to, you have to work on the driver, actually before you work on the car. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. No, that's great, and I'm glad you and your crew offer these programs to folks to make them better, safer drivers. That benefits them, and it benefits everybody else that shares the road. With these folks. So kudos to you and the team for doing that. So thank you very much for being with us here today, Dave. Really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure talking to you, getting to know your program a little bit more. Maybe one last plug for the website so folks can learn more.
Sure, it's neqclub.org is our chapter website, and we're going to be at Lime Rock again on February 28th. That's a Saturday. Yep. Driving starts at 10 a.m. Arrive around 8:30 for the classroom and registration, and we go until 3. And
Great.
that's a lot of winter driving.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
It sure is.
We're gonna have snow.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's it. That's the good thing about these events too, right? They don't get snowed out, I would assume.
You can't, right?
Right. I've been snowed out of Lime Rock a couple times for regular track days. When they start in April and so forth. That's a little too early sometimes for LRP. So, in these events, who cares, right? Snow,
Right.
More the merrier.
We want snow.
Yeah. Right. That's fantastic. Well, I wish you a great, successful event at the end of the month. Thank you again for joining us. To everybody who's watching and listening to the podcast, if you're not already a member of the world's largest Audi owners and enthusiasts club, like our guests today, see the episode description below for more information on the Audi Club. And we thank you very much for listening to us today, and we'll see you on the next episode of All Wheel Driven. Thanks again.